I was returning home from a remote airport after a 18-hour trip home from a 3-week business trip to Asia. One day I gave the driver general instructions on how to get to my house. I called a friend and suggested that she meet me at my house and we could order pizza, since I was starving and tired, and I just need to talk in English with someone who fully understands this, about stupid American stuff. After I hung up, the driver said, "I couldn't help but overhear your conversation. If you're hungry, I can take you out for dinner," and even joked that his English was very good. I insisted that I was fine, I just wanted to get home, eat some shitty American food, see my friends and sleep for a week. He stubbornly tried to take me out to dinner to the point that he actually pulled off the highway near the city to take me to his favorite restaurant. As soon as we ran a red light after he left, I jumped out of the car and shouted at him to open the trunk so I could pick up my luggage and get home safely. He left me along the road, and I was waiting for at least some kind of car to get home faster. But no, this taxi driver came back, apologized for everything. I still had things that were in the trunk, and I got back in the car. It was a mistake. He raped me all night. It was terrible. He let me go in the morning, and I don't know how I got home. I was going home from the theater in a taxi. Usually, I went home with a friend and her mother on the bus, but this time, they went to another place and stopped a taxi for me. We arrived safely. We talked about my theater, about his family. When we arrived at our destination, the driver turned around to take the money and saw my face. I had very problem skin with acne breakouts on it. Then, it all began. "You have many breakouts," the driver said. "I know," I replied. "Do you know how to get rid of them?" "I can advise a method," he said. "Yes, go ahead," I said. "You know, when a woman and a man sleep together, and a man comes inside a woman, they exchange their hormones and it helps the skin," the driver said. I tried to get out, pulled the handle, but nothing happened. He blocked the door. "If you want, I can help you with that," the driver suggested. "No, thanks, there is no need," I refused. "Come on, you will get better right away," the driver said. He released me only after I wrote down his phone number. I deleted it immediately. Only now, I realized that if I told my parents about this and saved his number, we could address the police. I was heading home after an awkward date with this guy the first just met. I hopped on the metro planning on taking it back into Phoenix, but of course it went one stop then shut down for the night. At this point it was almost 3 in the morning and I was some miles from my dorm, so I started walking back. I got a couple blocks when this taxi honked at me. I waved them off and continued my slow trudge home, when they made a sudden U-turn and honked again. So I walked over to the cab and informed the driver that I didn't have any money on me, which was partially true. I did have some but not enough to pay for the fare home. He told me it was fine and to hop into the cab. My first mistake was sitting in the front seat. During our drive he started questioning me, asking if I was cold or if I wanted something to eat or drink. I politely told him no and that I wished to just get back to my dorm. My second mistake was when he started asking me more personal questions, like how old I was and if I had a boyfriend. Since this complete stranger was giving me a ride home, I figured the courteous thing to do was to hold a conversation. But when we started getting closer to my dorm, things became very uncomfortable. He started calling me mommy and was becoming slightly more flirtatious. As soon as we pulled up to my dorm, he leaned over for a hug, or so I thought. So I leaned in to give a slight side hug, when he kissed me on the lips. I immediately pulled away, thanked him and hopped out of the car, thankful that I could see our dorm security guard from the window. Though not before he gave me his card, offering a free ride anytime I needed it. It was a dark and stormy night, and the streets were slick with rain. Most people had already retired to the safety of their warm homes, but one taxi driver, named Jack, was still out on the roads, trying to make a few more fares before calling it a night. As he drove through the deserted city streets, the rain beat against his windshield, making it difficult to see. He was about to give up and head back to the taxi stand when he saw a figure waving at him from the side of the road. He slowed down and pulled over to pick up his next fare. The passenger was a tall, thin man, dressed in a black suit and a fedora hat. He got into the back seat without saying a word and gave Jack an address in a part of town he was not familiar with. Jack hesitated for a moment, but then decided to take the fare, hoping it would be a big one. As he drove through the empty streets, Jack began to feel uneasy. There was something strange about this passenger, something that he couldn't quite put his finger on. The man sat in silence, staring out the window, while the rain continued to pour down outside. Finally, they arrived at their destination, a crumbling old mansion on the outskirts of the city. The passenger got out of the car and disappeared into the shadows without saying a word. Jack watched him go, feeling a sense of unease. As he pulled away from the mansion, Jack couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. He glanced in the rearview mirror and saw the passenger's eyes staring back at him, glowing in the darkness. He slammed on the brakes and looked again, but the passenger was gone. Feeling shaken, Jack drove away from the mansion as fast as he could. But the night was not over yet. As he drove through the winding streets, he began to notice something strange happening. Every time he turned a corner, the same mansion appeared in front of him, as if he was driving in circles. He tried to shake off the feeling of being trapped, but it only grew stronger. Suddenly, the passenger appeared in the back seat again, his eyes still glowing in the dark. Jack screamed and slammed on the brakes, but the car wouldn't stop. The passenger spoke, his voice cold and menacing. "You should have never taken this fare," he said. "Now you're trapped here forever." As Jack tried to escape, the passenger disappeared, leaving him alone in the car on a never-ending journey through the dark and stormy night. He could hear strange noises and whispers all around him, and he knew that he would never be able to escape. From that night on, the taxi driver was never seen again. Some say he's still out there, driving through the winding streets, trapped forever by the ghostly passenger who haunted his taxi. So if you ever find yourself out late at night, in need of a ride, beware of the taxi driver who never made it back from his last fare.